go. Hey. So you all know by now, this is a podcast of truth and community. We speak truth, we build up the community, and we are on the right side of politics.
That's right.
Which is leading right into my guest. So check this out, Wall. Her name is Spicy, as we like to call it. And I'm not about to butcher her name because when she said, you're like, oh my God, I see why you messed that name up. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself, which is not the norm, but because I don't want no heat. I don't want no problems from her. I'm gonna let her introduce her name. I'm gonna let her introduce herself. So this is Commissioner.
Hi, everyone. I'm Commissioner Eira Corral Sepulveda.
Bam. Say it
Yes,
again.
Commissioner Eira Corral Sepulveda
Baby.
with the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District.
Try
It's a
saying
long
that.
one. It's a long one.
Try saying that 5 times.
Girl, listen. It's hard. It is. Like sometimes I trip my own self.
Okay. So listen, you all, we have Commissioner
Eira Corral Sepulveda.
that. And so no, she's playing. So we have Commissioner Ada here, and we want to really just do a deep dive and talk about you. I know elections are coming up soon.
Yes.
You're up for re-election.
That's right, March 17.
And so I'm encouraging everyone to get out there and vote, exercise your right to vote. Okay. But let's talk more about you. I want to know about your personal journey. I want to know about who you are. You're a mother. You're a wife. You're a politician. You're an advocate.
Lots of hats.
You wear tons of hats. And I'm like, how does she do it all? So I think today I'm going to need you to kind of mentor me in how to manage all these hats and be successful all at the same time.
Look at you. You're doing it too, Mama.
I'm super impressed by you.
Thank you.
And I'm amazed by you. And I'm just so happy that we have been able to connect and build a friendship in this crazy world in politics. And so I'm so delighted that you're on my show. I'm going to need you back before we even get into the questions. So can I get a commitment?
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all heard that?
It's on record.
It's on record. Let there be a resolution formed. Okay. All right. So listen, let's get into these questions. I'm buckling up. You see me?
Oh. Here she goes.
It was juicy too. We're going to start light and then we'll move on. All right. So for the people who don't know you and they're meeting you for the first time on the VANNguard show, who are you beyond the title?
So I'm Ada, and that is actually my grandma's name. So I know it's a difficult name to pronounce, but I always hold it in high honor because it's my grandmother's name. May she rest in heaven. And I'm the daughter of Marta and Everardo, who are 2 immigrants from Mexico. We're from the northern part of Mexico. My family's from the state of Chihuahua. So if you're familiar, we're norteños. And, I think a lot of that has been very much part of my foundation and what forms my leadership and how I see the world, being the daughter of immigrants and being their firstborn daughter, even more so.
Wow.
But, just navigating the world with my family as a child, being the one that can speak English and bridge that gap. I was in a lot of spaces and places that you typically don't see kids, translating for my parents and being their advocate and just navigating the world, an adult world as a child. And so at a very early age, my dad just instilled in me the importance of leadership and being a part of community and advocating for community. I have a dad that whenever he would see a Latino on TV, he would be like, "Mija, come here," and he would make me stand in front of the TV and say, "That could be you. It's important that you lead and that you push for justice." And so that idea of me having responsibility to push for justice, my parents were undocumented at that point, so. For me as a child, knowing that my parents could be taken and the injustice behind that was a driving force into how I developed and how I saw the world and rules that are just not fair. As I got older, I was always so hungry to learn about the civil rights movement and our role in it. How many advances we just had Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and how much of debt we have to him and other trailblazers in the Black community, but also in the Latino community, and that coalition that was built during the civil rights movement. So, I have always seen myself through that guiding compass of community. I don't know that I'll always be elected, but from as far as back as I can remember, being a kid in fifth grade and fourth grade, actually, in a for my first leadership role, writing an essay to be a crossing guard, and I had the furthest post, and it would snow a lot, and wouldn't get properly shoveled, so it was quite an ordeal. But I remember writing that essay and writing about leadership and community, and as cheesy as it sounds, that's still me, that fifth grader, making sure that all the kids are crossing the street safely. That's still me. That's been part of my guiding compass, all through my youth, and then my young professional life, and now as a commissioner, of how I can advocate for community, how I can do better for community. And it's a lot of what we do at MWRD, the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. It's a long name, so we call it MWRD, or Water Rec for short. We do two important things. We are making sure that our sewer treatment water process is functioning properly, and that our stormwater management is also working properly. So we are a public health agency and an environmental agency. Um, we protect our communities from flooding, and we protect our waterways from polluters. And we don't do tap water, though. Drinking water, that is a function of your municipal government. So y'all can, if you're in
Why are you
Westchester,
pointing to me?
you could call her in
don't do
Westchester, or
that.
your mayor.
Hold on, don't just.
Not me, though.
I should gonna put me on blast on my show.
Your water bill is not my fault, y'all.
We will talk about that later. All right. So it seems like representation obviously matters to you.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
I know you have a lot of great milestones. And I want you to tell me more about that. I mean, you went from clerk to commissioner,
Yeah.
crossing guard. I mean, you were just leadership in every single way. And two things that kind of stuck with me that I want to just do a deep dive. And if you haven't watched the show before, I typically have questions already prepared.
Mhm.
And I often deviate from those questions because it's whatever I'm feeling in the moment, right?
Okay.
Because
yeah, absolutely.
when the spirit moves me and the
We're
energy is
vibing.
good, it just comes out. And so
We're flowing. Pun intended.
we're gonna point intended from the water wreck. See that? Boom. She is water wreck through and through, So tell me about visibility and representation. What does that mean to you as a Latina in your role?
I think for me, it's only like representation is one step. I like that you said both of those. Frankly, I don't think I've been asked about visibility ever. So it's interesting. It's one thing to have representation. It means that you're there, you're at the table, right? But then when you get to the table, it's a whole different challenge, right? So you're going through this election process, and you're going to people and saying, I am the most qualified, I'm the best fit to represent my community in this role. And election day is a culminating point of that campaign, but it is only the start of a leadership journey in governance. And the continuity of that is so important. And I think, for the first time, I think visibility is probably what fits most.
Right.
Because you're in rooms, and you know this in municipal government. You're in rooms as a woman representing an underrepresented group, historically disenfranchised group. And often you're the only one. For myself, I was 23 when I was first elected to municipal government in my hometown as clerk.
Okay.
And I was very young, a millennial elected at that point. It was 2009. As a woman, as a Latina, I was the only one of all of those categories.
You checked every box.
Yes, all the boxes. And you do get lost sometimes. And you have to take up space. You have to be loud in
Absolutely.
your voice. And at first, it can be jarring for others, and it can be jarring for for oneself also. To not feel awkward, to not feel like, am I doing the right thing? Because no one's really put that path before you. You are a trailblazer.
Absolutely.
Now, I always say, you know what? I may be a trailblazer, but the path behind me is on fire, and there's a lot more coming. And it's important for us to know that as trailblazers, we are there representing a path that has not been carved for others to follow. And that visibility that you bring to that role or to that agency, that organization, or that issue is so important. Um, and it matters that community stands with you in that visibility,
Absolutely.
not just through
Absolutely.
election day and that, that winning party on election night, but also through the continuance of governance, and with you, not blindly loyal, not in a sense of, we'll do nothing but support, but really to push and pull from the outside.
Hmm.
When I show up in government, it matters that I say, my constituents have asked me to move forward in this. My constituents have asked me about these issues. And that visibility is just about as much as it is about me as a representative as it is about who I represent. So that's so
Absolutely.
important. I love that
Absolutely. I
visibility.
like your answer because I can unpack your answer and that could be the whole show because you hit on so many different topics.
Yeah.
You talked about using your voice and the power of using your voice, right?
Yes.
You talked about taking up space.
Mhm.
You talked about sometimes being the minority but having to represent as the majority,
Right.
right? You also talked about what's coming up next. You talked about community engagement. You did it so freely. I know that it's very authentic and genuine, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen it. I've seen it. I don't have any idea about all the environmental stuff that she talks about, you all, because it's just not my cup of tea. I'm not gonna act like I know. I just learned carbon footprint.
Mhm.
I think that was from her one of her events, and I picked it up. I was like, "Oh, that's cute. I'm gonna say that."
Well, that's where we met the first time,
That
right?
is exactly. See,
Yeah.
I'm not lying when I tell y'all. I was like, I don't know. She is good. Like, okay, like I was really interested, and I learned a lot from that event that we had attended. But I want to talk more about you as a trailblazer
Mhm.
because you are a trailblazer. You're picking up the baton from what your family invested in you, and you're
Mhm.
standing on their shoulders.
Yes.
Because at 4 years old, fourth grade, crossing guard, you translating, which is huge.
Yeah.
You being concerned about if I'm going to be separated from my parents. You are
Mhm.
already an activist at a young age. You were put in that role to advocate, fight, and be an activist
Mhm.
and represent the voiceless.
Mm.
Your family depended on you
Yeah.
to do something so amazing, and it was so natural for you. It's no wonder why you're in this role and
Mhm.
why you do it with such authenticity. I want you to talk to me more about how women that check all the boxes can use their voice in a room where they feel like they're suffocating. How
Mhm.
did you learn to use your voice so that you can be heard and be loud and still be respected?
Um, I think
Take your time. Take your time because I'm hitting you deep. Not
yeah, hitting all inner depths, right? Um, I think when you said, for example, earlier that you didn't know too much about environmental, but you showed up to that event,
I
right?
sure did.
Yes, because you cared.
Mhm.
And I think sometimes a lot of us feel that we have to be these experts in all of these different areas to, one, show up, two, contribute, and three, demand.
Oh, I
And
like the demand part.
and in fact, we don't, right? We don't have to be experts. We just have to be willing to show up and learn. Like showing up is half the battle. And I think, you mentioned also, I was a kid translating. I don't know that it was always necessarily natural, but it was part of survival for my family.
I like the way you said that. That's good positioning.
Yes,
Okay, I'm gonna
because
pin that. We're gonna come back to that. But
girl,
please
let's come back
continue.
to it. You and my therapist.
And I am.
It was a part of survival, and so I think for a lot of us, once you get into some of these rooms, you really realize how mediocre some leadership can be out there, and you're like, man, I was all worried about showing up and having stuff to say, and then making a demand. Like I got this, and the more you show up, the more comfortable you are in contributing, the more comfortable you are in demanding. And I say demanding, not with a sense of entitlement, but when it comes to government, um we're taxpayers, so
Absolutely.
you do have a sense of right to demand to know what is being done, to demand that there's accountability for how your community is being invested in, and follow up with that, right? You keep on showing up to these rooms, and sharing your experiences, your lived experiences about what is going on in your neighborhood, in your community, and saying, we'd like to see some changes here. um, People are going to pay attention, and you'll build that confidence. So that's what I would say to, like, how do you use your voice, and when you feel kind of a
Right.
sense of
Because when you're in those rooms, and our beloved President Obama said almost the same thing that you said. He was like, I was in these rooms and I was thinking, oh my God,
yeah,
these people are superior. And you get in the rooms, you're like, what?
yeah,
Like, this is really,
yeah.
and so you realize really quickly, like, oh, I'm actually pretty smart, but I overestimated you, right?
Mm.
So I want
You
to go
know,
back.
let me add to that, because you
Mhm.
just said something key. You also get a sense of, yes, you're all very smart, but at the same time, um, it's new for you to be around, okay? So don't get discouraged when you show up and you start contributing and demanding. If you don't right away get this, like, very welcoming reception, and your ideas are then considered brilliant, it'll take time, and I think people can feel discouraged by that. I know sometimes I start feeling that little sense of, am I going to get jaded by this? No. When you feel a sense of getting jaded by that, you just regroup and relaunch.
Oh, that's good.
You have to,
Regroup and relaunch.
yeah, yes.
Hashtag that.
Hmm.
Regroup and relaunch.
Yeah, the number of times I've had to pivot from an idea or a
Mm.
concept, an ordinance, a resolution, a policy, because other people aren't ready for it, or it just wasn't the time for it. But then you still make advances from pushing something forward, and you have to recognize that, and you have to value it, and speak truth to it, because showing up and making those contributions and making those demands is a part of the process.
I love this. So, you all, I want you to understand that this woman has been through trials and tribulations. And what she said was, you have to learn how to pivot,
Hmm.
and you have to pretty much regroup and relaunch.
Hmm.
So, that's stepping out on faith. That's not you getting discouraged.
Yeah.
That's not understanding you might be outvoted and people may not understand what you're trying to bring to the table.
Hmm.
But do not get defeated,
Hmm.
and don't back down into what your plan was and what your desire mission was. Don't back down from that, because then it will never be brought forth in a way that it was supposed to, because it's your idea, it's your initiative. Um, and so we pinned a particular topic that I wanted to go back to. I wanted to talk about immigration,
Mm.
and I need to bring this up because ICE is, it's real.
Mhm.
Um, and I have to pivot on some of my questions because I'm going to be very transparent here. But I want to talk about your experience, because ICE is a big deal now because the way it's being played out. But
Mhm.
to be honest with you, this is not nothing new.
No.
Deportation, illegal deportation, has been going on forever.
Yeah.
I would even, dare I say, borderline trafficking. That's just, I said it and it's out there. I said it. I do a lot of trafficking work. And sometimes the strategies that are being used are so very similar to how people are been trafficked for years.
Mhm.
And you're just separated from everything you know and put in this other world by force,
Mhm.
and not knowing if you're going to make it out alive, not
Mhm.
alone see your family again.
Right.
That is so much trauma that is
Yes.
happening. And we're living with it as if it's normal.
Yeah.
And it's the most unnormal thing. When you have, and I'm going to get a little emotional, but I'm going to pull it back. Y'all know I get emotional because I feel like there's vulnerability and strength. So I am very
Absolutely.
out there. But when you have, you know, aunties and uncles,
Mhm.
abuela, picking
Yeah.
up the kids,
Yeah.
or at a soccer game,
Yeah.
and you're being picked up, but all the violent criminals are still
That.
moving around,
Mhm.
and you bypass them and you go and grab someone else who's working hard,
Mhm.
who's paying their taxes, because believe it or not, taxes are paid.
Yes. We don't, y'all.
Y-
We do not get the
Talk about that.
undocumented or the immigrant tax discount. Okay.
There you
I
go.
don't know about
Say
y'all,
that in the back so people in the back can hear you.
but when we go shopping to the grocery store
Okay.
or buying clothes,
Uh-huh.
we
Do you
don't
get
get
an
a
exempt letter?
no, we don't get
You
an
don't get the
exempt, we
exempt
don't get
letter, right?
an immigrant discount. Our property taxes, they just went out this past December.
Do
Um
you get an exempt on
Nobody,
that
nope,
one? Oh,
no,
okay.
there's
Just want to make
no
sure.
immigrant exemption or discount. We all pay taxes just the
Do
same.
you know on the average about how much taxes are in revenue are accumulated from immigrants?
I don't have the
I
exact
believe
figure
it
for
was in
this
the
year,
billions.
but it's significant figure. And the significance isn't just the monetary value, but also what the return is to immigrants. Immigrants do not qualify for a lot of benefits, um, and yet we have an administration and leaders that for decades, because it's not just this administration. I remember, um, gosh, back in 2007, one of the congressional races, then Peter Roscom, ran for congressman, and he sent out these um, Welcome to America kits. And it was
Oh,
these little
wow.
boxes, and it was these like pamphlets. They were like makeshift pamphlets that mocked benefits that undocumented immigrants were getting. And it was all false. False. Absolutely false. There is this sentiment that undocumented immigrants are stealing from,
Yes, you hear that
you
a
know,
lot.
citizens, and that is not the case.
I need you to continue to demystify some of these stereotypes and
Yeah.
false truths that are being passed around as justification for illegal deportation.
Right.
Can you like just give us, some of the pointers, because a lot of people don't know fact from fiction, right?
Yeah.
And so please, please, this is so important. You have the floor.
So, I mean, I don't know that I'll be able to cover all of them
No, just
because
maybe the top 5.
I'm not an immigration lawyer or policy expert. But
But
I would
what like
say,
some of the myths or
right.
untruths that you hear in the community when
Um,
they're trying to justify
right. So the idea that, well, they should have come here the easy way,
so I've
or
heard that
the right way, right? As
the
if it
right
was
way.
easy.
What is the right way?
There really isn't a right way, because in a lot of cases, trying to do it the right way, there are a lot of people that are currently being deported or under threat of deportation, and they have filed their paperwork.
So you're telling me people have done it the right way and
Yes,
going through the
there
process,
is
and yet
a
they're being deported.
backlog, and for all the amount of dollars that have historically been invested, either in what is now ICE and Custom and Border Patrol. It used to be INS, Immigration Naturalization Services. For decades, these agencies have been completely underinvested. They're not investing in ensuring that there's the backlog of applications is addressed. In fact, this administration cut in funding for administrative judges, for just support to provide a faster evaluation of some of these applications. So, if you really wanted to make sure that the people that are here that have not changed their status, or have not, formalized their status, that they have been paying taxes, that they don't have a criminal background. If you want to make sure that that's the case, then you would process this paperwork because they have, and it's not free. It's incredibly expensive.
How much is it
I mean, it could be
approximately?
thousands of dollars.
Really?
Oh yeah, your application fees, lawyer fees. There, it takes years as well. I mean, I'm talking like well over a decade for some of these applications to be processed. It's very trying um, to go through this process, and the U.S. government has historically, not just in this administration, but historically, has not invested in making sure that it is an efficient process, an efficient process. The demand for labor has always been there, has always been there. But the opportunity to be able to, one, be able to apply to legalize your status is incredibly difficult. And then once you set that application in place, it takes a long, long time. So that's one part of it.
Oh wow.
I would say the idea that immigrants don't contribute to this country. Immigrants, by far, have a very low um, crime statistics. And we have a higher than normal business entrepreneurial spirit. So the amount of businesses that immigrants open, and you can see that in the Chicagoland,
Absolutely.
you can see
Absolutely.
how um, when an immigrant community comes in, even with the recent Venezuelan influx, you saw the number of Venezuelan shops pop up, selling arepas and trying to do something like that. That contributes to the economy. It contributes to a localized economy, which moves much more money than the big box. Or the big brands. So it's those are some things that I would like people to know, that immigrants, do contribute. Um, we have many of us, we left everything. Like my parents, they left everything they knew and everything they had to come to this country for an opportunity for their family. They came for me, and I really think that for me as a child of immigrants and for my parents as immigrants, you have a different sense of appreciation of what this country means and what the promise of this country is.
I like that.
I know that and I talk about this often. When I was running for my first election for commissioner, I had to go do an interview for a newspaper. It was a big interview, big endorsement, and My parents are not political people. They're not wealthy people. They're not connected people. So I asked my dad. I was prepping. I was nervous. I asked my dad, "Hey, Dad, Papi, can you take me to this interview? I've been up, nervous all night, and I don't want to drive. And like the drive, sometimes you're like stop and go. I don't want to drive and fall
Right.
asleep on the wheel.
Right.
And he's like, "Yeah, mija, yo te llevo. I'll take you." So he took me, and my dad, he dropped me off in front, and he grabbed my face with his callous hands. My dad's in construction, and he said, "Échale ganas, mija," and gave me my bendición, so my blessing, right? And "échale ganas" for the Latino community is this phrase that is used in a variety of ways. You say it to someone when you want them to put in effort, to put in work. You say it to someone when they've been defeated, maybe they lost their job or they lost a big game. And you're like, "Échale ganas." You say it to someone that they're doing really well, but they are thinking like, "Oh, can I take a chill?" No, no, échale ganas. You keep going. It's a phrase that to me represents that we know as my parents being Mexican immigrants, that success isn't promised to you. It's not.
That is absolutely
It
correct.
is something that you need to put in work for. And that spirit, I think, is so much a part of the ethos of our Mexican immigrant community, that we move forward. And you'll see us. Yeah, ICE is coming after us, and I say us because, frankly, like my husband and I are U.S. born citizens, but we're still carrying our passports sometimes because they're taking everyone.
Like
It's
right
like,
off the street.
yeah, it's like equal opportunity crazy out there. They're
Mm.
taking US citizens. They don't care. They just took a grandpa from Minnesota.
Uh,
Did you see that? This
This is absurd.
this poor grandpa came out like in his briefs
And this is what I'm talking about.
in the cold.
But you're bypassing the criminal, right?
Right. And
You
no reason,
you're going for grandpa
Yeah, and you know what?
who
Like,
can't fight back. What about the lady, rest in peace, in Minnesota, who lost her life?
I mean, that's tragic. And no matter I saw one of the videos, and I didn't see it all the way through because to me, I don't need to see the full extent of someone's suffering um to understand that you don't shoot at a moving vehicle when you're making an arrest, period. That's just like basic law enforcement
Yeah, I've heard the
policy
same.
and protocol. And so for me, it's very alarming that we have a federal government agency that with impunity is behaving against all standards and protocols of what we know. And having worked with law enforcement at the local level in my municipal role, I think a lot of police officers and law enforcement agencies have really made an effort to try to push against some of the narrative that, um, one, a few bad apples, but two, a culture of, a fraternal culture that has allowed institutionally for um, discrimination in law enforcement against Black and brown people to exist. Um, I think they're frustrated. A lot of people made some inroads and um, some shifts to try to do better, and it's really giving law enforcement a bad name.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I'm gonna need you to go ahead and so while we talk through this. So I always state that there's some bad apples wherever you go, but that's the minority of the majority. I know plenty of law enforcement individuals that do a great job, that are fair, They are actually there to serve the community and
Mhm.
protect the community. It's something that they're passionate about. They're not there to make it worse, but kind of mediate. And I see that all the time. And so, but when you have these other, individuals that unfortunately get the social media exposure, it paints a picture that every law enforcement officer is that way, and that's just not true. It's just that we don't capture the good,
Mhm.
because social media thrives on drama and being messy. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so it's also up to us as individuals to highlight the
Yeah.
goodness, and not only for in our first responders and our
Right.
officers, but then in the families.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal: this whole lynch squad that's happening, because that's what it feels like to me. They are our neighbors. They're our friends,
Mm.
immigrants. This country was founded immigrant labor, and most of it was forced labor, slavery. So
Mm.
for anyone to say that being this is not American, being an immigrant is not American or it's un-American, you truly don't know what America is,
Mhm.
because that was the purpose of America in the first place,
Mm.
right? And then we had Christopher Columbus that came over here and did some horrible things to the natives, but that's not that's not the legacy of America. And I just want to be very clear on that. What we living through now will not be America's legacy. But what we have to do is come together and have these real talk
Mhm.
conversations.
Mhm.
We have to talk about the truth, expose the lies,
Yeah.
and then share your story.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. Like I mentioned earlier, the threat of you losing your family is not because of this administration. That's something you lived with.
Yes.
And it's something that a lot of immigrants live with.
Yes.
And so that's a trauma bond that I think that all immigrants can say that they have in common, right? You could be
It
like, I
can
don't
be.
know you, but I understand, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so for someone like myself who've never had that, I have my own traumas being who I am.
Mhm.
And I don't want to add on to no more dang on trauma. But and I'm unpacking this because I really want people to overstand, not just understand, but overstand
Mm.
how this adversely affects you and other families that you might have spoke with, right?
Mhm.
They carry this. The fact that you got to carry your passport in
Mhm.
the country where you serve, you took an oath
Yeah.
to serve.
Right.
You are a public servant.
Yeah.
You hold an official office.
Right.
You are a commissioner.
Yes.
And yet you have to carry your passport.
Yes.
That just doesn't make any dang on sense. And I just get infuriated just thinking about it.
You know what? It's same. I get infuriated.
How do you
And
deal with that?
so
Talk to.
sometimes there's a lot of different ways that I deal with it.
I
But
mean,
when
do you like get mad and be like, and just throw something at me? No,
I mean, I don't
maybe
throw
that's just
stuff
me.
per
I probably
se.
like.
But yes, I do get very angry. I yell at the TV. You
I bet you
know,
have choice words.
yeah, yeah. I yell at the radio as well. But while back when I was first elected clerk, I went through this clerk
And where were you
institute,
elected clerk?
Hanover Park.
And Hanover Park has approximately, when you were elected, how many Latinos were there?
So it's a 38,000 population total. About 40%, I actually think it's a little bit more, but 40% Latino. It's about 15% Asian, about I think 11 to 12% Black, and then there's a mix of like other, and then it's white non-Hispanic, right? So it's a very diverse town. Over 60% of the town is of diverse background.
That's great.
And well over 30% is of immigrant population. So when I first was elected as clerk, I went through something called the Clerks Institute at the University of Illinois, and we traveled to Springfield. It was a Clerk Institute, and I read the Gettysburg Address with new eyes as a newly elected official. And I'd read the Gettysburg Address before when I was in school. Everybody
Right,
knows the
right.
Gettysburg Address. And it's funny because, it's a very short speech that Lincoln gave after the Battle of Gettysburg. And it's meant to, speak and honor all of the soldiers that lost their lives in that hallowed ground. And when he starts, he says, well, people aren't probably going to remember what I say today, and yet here we are still talking about it. But he goes on to talk about um, what America, the United States of America, being a government for the people by the people, and it talks about the reason why um, they were there and the civil right, the Civil War, and there's an element to that speech that really beckons for us as US Americans to continuously live up to the promise of what our country is in a way that really truly resonates with me to this day. Our country has a history. Our country has a legacy, and we have to continuously contend with that history and with that legacy. Not deny it, not wash over it, but contend with it, wrestle with it, and
I
and
like that.
honor it.
Mhm.
Honor it by doing better, by building it to be a better country. And
Yeah.
so whenever I'm feeling, you know, a sort of way, and whenever I feel a sense of betrayal by my countrymen and women,
Oh, that's really, oh, wow.
I try
Why
to
did you
go.
use the word betrayal? Oh, that's good.
Um,
Please break that down.
well, because again, I think I go back to what it means to be a U.S. American and what it means to you know want to move forward in the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Um, and those are universal. This country was an idea, founded an idea of um, equality. And while we may not have been fully understanding and acknowledging
Or
and
equal.
and demonstrating to be equal when our
Mhm.
country was founded, those ideas have legacy.
Absolutely.
And our Constitution has legacy. And so, in many ways, I do feel betrayed by my countrymen and women that think that it's okay for there to not be due process. I do feel betrayed that I have to explain to my father on how to appropriately communicate that he is a U.S. citizen. Um, eh, I do feel betrayed that my bodily autonomy is not respected as a woman. Um, I, I really I feel betrayed by the notion that I thought when I was a kid growing up and I was reading about the civil rights movement and reading about MLK and Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta and Malcolm X and um, Fred Hampton and all of these wonderful leaders that moved forward in a movement of liberation. I thought, wow, what a wonderful foundation that we can build on. And I thought it'll be different for my children. And here I am. I have a 20-year-old son, and I still have to explain to my 20-year-old son um, what to do and how to behave in his brown skin so that he may survive.
Mm.
Um, that's hard, and here I am with my daughter who's 9 years old. She was just a newborn when Donald Trump was elected and was the all over the TV, radio, and print media was how he was caught on tape bragging about being able to grab women from their genitals with that impunity. And here I am holding this beautiful brown baby girl. And him getting elected that November night. I feel betrayed, not just for myself, not just for my family, but as a mother, by the notion that a man like that can be president. And that it's not just that man that is president, but that my countrymen and women stand by it. And then they went and stood by it again. So that's what I mean by that. You know, I have faith, and I have hope that we will overcome not just what this administration is and means, but what is in the hearts of my countrymen and women.
I am full right now. I'm full. Everything you said resonated with me on a whole nother level, and my eyes got watery. And then I saw your eyes get watery.
You did not tell me I was going to come here to cry.
Girl, that's what I do. I should have brought the tissue. You're a mother.
Mm-hmm.
Your soul is on fire with such passion, and yet you're so graceful. Girl, they don't make you anymore.
Oh, girl, no.
I'm trying to tell you, and I'm not. Listen, you know I don't be blowing smoke up people, but just be doing. If I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna say it. It's real and it's right from my heart. They don't make you anymore, and that is why you're such a trailblazer. Because here's the deal: you're gonna take this.
Okay, all right.
Because it's important to me.
Open arms.
Yes, because it's so important to me that we get our flowers while we're alive.
Thank you.
So I'm giving you your roses, and I'm going to give it all on social media. Your full bouquet. Okay, because what we're talking here. And people know you as commissioner. They know you as these different roles. But I don't think that they saw this tonight. And girl, I think a tear about to come out. You're not gonna mess up my makeup. You're not gonna mess up my makeup.
We do not have waterproof mascara on.
Girl, you know,
Miss Van.
We over here I'm trying to be cute and you mess up my makeup. And I just wanted to let you know that you are such an inspiration.
Thank you.
And you're not just inspiring our youth, you're inspiring grown people to get up and use their voice and say something. And tonight, I know for sure you have touched people in such a way that they feel more empowered. So for that reason alone, I want to say thank you.
Well, thank
you.
And
I am so happy you are in this seat as a public servant, as an elected official, because you are the exact prototype that we need to represent constituents, to represent the voiceless, to advocate, to fight, to take up space. And it's all deep rooted. It's not like it's sometimes you have politicians and they memorize stuff and you're like, oh my God, I know this is a whole script. You're just talking right from your heart, and like just having you on the show, I'm learning more about you. So, like I said, I had all of these questions, but we have deviated. And that's okay, because I think having these pivots in real life, remember she talked about pivot, we pivoted this entire time. I think that's where we kind of peel the onion back and get to the truth.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to, share a little bit more about myself.
About you.
And I'm not always all graceful though. I always say like, it's very rare a day that I'm great at all things. Sometimes I have really good mom days, and sometimes I have really good daughter days, and sometimes I have really good wife days, and sometimes I have really good candidate or like political leader days, and sometimes I have really good commissioner on the government side days. Very rarely is there a day where I get to do like all the things all in one day. And I think that's important, that we give ourselves that space to not always be so so graceful. Like I actually, you know what? I took my daughter to gymnastics yesterday, and I was sharing with one of the gymnastics dads. I'm like, oh man, sometimes I really wonder how long I can last incognito in some places because I show up like, I mean, like I show up like rough girl, like I messy
But
bun,
yeah,
like
straight mommy mode.
greasy hair.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was wearing some weird socks with pants, and the sweater did not match.
Oh,
It was
I do
a
that all the
mess.
time.
Okay, a mess. But I'm like, oh God, please, like, don't bump into anybody that knows that I'm a commissioner. Um, and sometimes you have those times, right? Like where you can give yourself the space to just be. And I don't think that as elected officials, um, we're particularly special, or sometimes it's a little over glamorized, but it is grunt work, y'all.
It is.
It is
Absolutely.
as humbling as sometimes it can be a little humiliating. You are out there
Oh,
knocking
you
on
put all
doors.
of you out there.
All of you're knocking on doors, people slamming doors in your face. You have to
Absolutely.
fundraise. You're out there
You're begging for money.
begging for money, like,
Oh, I
and
do
we
not
don't
like
come
that
from,
part.
we don't come from
Oh,
wealthy families. We don't
right.
come from politically connected families. So we had to, yourself as well. You had to
Absolutely.
build all of this and do carve that path, and it can be very humbling, and sometimes it's rough. You're out there and the corner, like passing out your palm card, asking people to
Yeah.
vote for you,
Yeah.
like it, and people looking at you side-eyed, like
Right.
it can be very arduous, tedious work as well. But I tell my son, like, I didn't, even though I knew I was like community leadership was my compass and it will continue to be, I didn't grow up feeling like, oh, one day I'm going to be president, or one day I'm going to be
Right.
mayor or congressperson. And if that's your dream as a child, that's cool, nothing wrong with it. But that wasn't like my dream per se. I tell my children, like, I still don't know what I want.
Me too.
Right?
I'm still figuring
I'm
it
like,
out.
listen, I had no idea what commissioner of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago was.
And you're going to tell us because a lot of us don't know. So pin that one.
Right.
Okay.
So, I tell my, I didn't know what that was. I came into it because my path, my purpose brought me to that opportunity. And I don't believe in luck. I believe in preparation meets opportunity. And I was prepared when that opportunity came, and I felt that I had something to contribute in that role. And so I think all of us can find ourselves in that place, whether it's an elected office or in a different leadership capacity, or just in life, finding your purpose and preparing yourself continuously for what opportunities God or the universe presents to you. And a lot of times it's a lot of grunt work, but you get stories and moments where people are impacted by the work that you do. And so
Absolutely.
as commissioner, I get an opportunity to do that. With flood, that's something that impacts so many communities all throughout Cook County. Particularly Black and Brown communities are disproportionately impacted by flooding.
So
And
let's talk about that.
yeah,
Let's talk about that because I want to shift and talk about policy and impact.
sure.
I want to talk about the water wreck. What is it? What is it for? How does it help? And tell me, how does it help? I'm like combining three questions into one.
Okay.
First is your day-to-day work.
Okay.
Second is, how does this work that you do help communities are like desolate communities or communities that are often overlooked? And how do you balance technical policy with making sure residents actually are heard and understood with the decisions that
Girl, you were
make?
not lying. That was
I
a lot
know,
of questions.
I know,
Hold up.
but you got this.
Okay, start with the first one. Then we'll move our way.
All right, so you're gonna write it down.
You're
I'll
like,
slow it down.
boom, 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 boom.
All right, no.
I'm ready for all of them.
Right,
Just...
I know you are because you stay ready. So let's talk about, as a commissioner, okay, of the
Day-to-day
water
work, you
wreck.
said.
What's
Okay.
your day-to-day work look like?
Yeah.
And what is the water wreck? What is that for people who just don't understand what that means? Because what is it?
Okay. So the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District services the entirety of the city of Chicago. and over 120 municipalities. So it's almost all of Cook County, but there's a few municipalities or part of municipalities that are not part of the jurisdiction of
Is
MWRD.
Westchester a part of it?
Yes, ma'am.
So you all hear that, right? So
Westchester.
can I pivot for a little bit?
Sure, what's up?
You gonna give me some money for Westchester?
Girl, did you apply for the grants?
But we're about to. I just wanted to put it
Hey!
out there. So before we wrap up, I also want you to let people know about the grants that are available, and then encourage your elected officials to go and apply for those grants, or the village staff to apply for those grants.
Yeah. So we just went through our application process last year. We reviewed all of the applicants, and we identified which projects we're going to move forward, and then they should be starting later this year, 2026.
What type of projects did you identify?
Sure. So we have green infrastructure projects. We also have gray infrastructure projects, but my particular favorite are the green infrastructure projects. So, for a lot of for most of our municipalities, we have combined sewer systems. So that means that both your sewage and your stormwater. So when it rains, and when you are washing dishes, all that water ends up in the same and in the same system to be treated. Okay? So all of that water gets combined, and before it goes to your house, okay, so it leaves your tap, right? You're washing dishes, it goes down your tap, it goes into the municipal system.
Okay.
And then from the municipal system, it goes to the MWRD, Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. So there's 3 different
and it goes
infrastructure
to
systems.
You all for what
That's right.
purpose?
We treat it. So we
yes,
rainwater and sewage gets combined and it gets treated all the same.
Okay.
We have 7 different plants all throughout the region. Our biggest one being Stickney, so that actually treats quite a bulk of all of the region's sewage and stormwater. And we have 3 different systems. So we have the homeowners infrastructure, we have the municipal infrastructure, and then we have the MWRD structure. And so those 3 systems have to be continuously maintained. You as a homeowner need to maintain your infrastructure. So for example, when I was a new homeowner and I was a single mom and a new homeowner, I experienced flooding in my house, and it was awful. I had sewage backup, and it rained, so I had almost like up to my knees of
oh my God.
Yeah, it was not. And then I had to dig this big hole in my front yard to fix my part of the sewage system. And that's kind of how I even got caught up with all this stuff, because I had that.
So you had an experience.
I had an experience. Girl, it was an experience. And I had to pay for that giant hole to be digged in my front yard. I had to replace sewage pipe up to the main connection of the municipal system. And I was like, well, it's sewer. Why doesn't the municipality fix it? Well, that was my business up to the connection. I'm like, oh my God.
You hear that a lot. Yeah.
So, I think it's important that we understand that. But for municipalities, a lot of our municipalities have been here for a long time. We have municipalities that have been, some of them over 100 years. So municipalities also have smaller budgets, and they need some support.
We need some support.
Yes, you do. I know, girl. It can cost millions of dollars just to fix a few miles of sewer pipe.
Absolutely.
And inventory of what all their pipes maintenance need for them, what the schedule determines that they need to do to upgrade, maintain, or replace. And what we can do is cost share with municipalities.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So we can cost share. Sometimes it's an upgrading some of the municipal systems so that the conveyance of the combined sewage and stormwater can get to our system faster. And sometimes it's in green infrastructure. And so the green infrastructure supports your neighborhood, your community, and being able to keep that stormwater out of the system.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you're creating capacity. These are nature-based solutions. It can be like bioswales, rain gardens, pavers where you can have. So instead of we have We do this Chicago, and we've expanded it to the suburbs. I'm really proud of that because we did this in the last 5 years. I was a part of expanding our Space to Grow program, which is for Chicago public schools. Now we have the Green School Suburban Schoolyard program in the suburbs, and we create playgrounds for schools. Now, if you consider, like, I mean, how many times have you seen schools with all they have is a blacktop, right?
Right.
One, boring. Two,
Right.
blacktop does not absorb water. You'll
True.
see blacktop, you'll see the roof of the school, and then you'll see, some trees and grass. But grass has root systems, you guys. Grass, root systems, 3 inches. That's it. But native plants can have deep rooted systems 10 feet deep. So we work with schools to have pavers where water can be absorbed underground, and to make sure that we have native plants that can absorb some of that water. And when you keep all of that water out of the system, it creates capacity for when we get these huge, massive storms that climate change is just pounding us with. We can be better able to absorb it in the system, because all that water that would go from the blacktop to the sewer now is being absorbed underground. Now is being absorbed by native plants. That's one of the examples of green infrastructure.
Okay, listen, she dropped that knowledge. So listen here. Unfortunately, we gotta close, and I don't wanna, I don't
Uh,
want to.
I
I
know.
don't want
I said I
to.
gotta come back. I
But
said,
you're
right?
definitely gonna come
I
back,
made a
and I'm gonna
promise.
have you back before election, because I
Okay.
want to do more of a deeper dive about
Mhm.
who you are as an elected official and
Mhm.
some of your future aspirations.
Sure.
And I want you kind of like, it's a teaser, right? So I want you to talk about it now, and then we're going to continue it.
Okay.
So, um, in closing, a couple things I want you to close with. I
Sure.
want you to tell me what your legacy looks like,
Mm.
right? And then I also want you to tell me, where should we go and vote for you?
Okay.
Talk about the voting.
Yes.
And then I need you to tell us why we should vote for you. Why should we put you back in office?
Okay.
Let's go.
All right, my legacy.
You got 2 minutes though.
All right, 2 minutes. Okay, so if I would say my legacy as commissioner, I've invested a lot of time in creating a sense of awareness, education,
You absolutely have.
awareness on resources, and also education on what we can do to protect ourselves from flooding, but what we can do also to protect the environment. Right. I have put together. My office puts together 2 monarch festivals every year. It's two annual events that we have, one in the northwest suburbs and one in the western suburbs, because I want people to understand the importance of planting milkweed. And milkweed is a native plant. It absorbs rainwater. So if you remember anything from
I
me,
do remember
is
that.
to plant milkweed so that it can not only create infrastructure to absorb that rainwater, but it's also wonderful for our monarchs, our monarch butterflies. That is our state insect. For me, as a Latina and an immigrant from Mexico, that's a very important icon of our migration journey. So they depend on milkweed. It is the only plant that a monarch butterfly will lay its eggs on. They depend on the caterpillar depends on it for nourishment and to help it. There's a toxin in the leaves of milkweed that helps it deter predators.
Wow.
So that's something that I would like for all of you to do, like plant milkweed.
All right, you all, plant milkweed, number one. And then finally, let's talk about voting.
Yes.
Go for it.
So
Share it.
February 5th, okay? February 5th starts early voting. Early voting. There are several early voting locations all throughout Cook County. You can go to any early voting location during that time period. But election day is March 17th. Now, March 17th, that's election day. You go to your polling location. That's usually nearby. Maybe it's your local school, your local church, your local library, etc. So, if you have more questions on where your polling place is or your closest early voting location, you can go to Cook County Clerk Elections Office or to the City of Chicago Elections Commission.
Where can they find you and follow you?
So you can find me on social media, all platforms, but I do have a political and a government, and they're both a lot of fun for different reasons. So my political, you can find at Ada for Us, and that's EIRA, the number 4, and us like US. And my government one is Ada underscore H2O, not 0, O.
Any events that you have coming up that you might want to promote while we close?
Oh man, yeah. You know what? We're gonna have on the West Side this Thursday with Alderwoman Emma Mitz, our very first Fight the Flood. This is a wonderful program that it's workshop style. We're gonna have round tables. It's about providing education and awareness of what causes flooding, what we do as a water reclamation district, how municipal government is so important. So giving that information, that
And
education.
where's that at? What's the address?
So that will be at Alderwoman Emma Mitz's office.
Okay.
Yes, she has her community.
Okay. You guys heard it here on the Vanguard Show. Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Thanks for having me.
Oh. And I will see you all soon. Hey, shout out to Nick.